Good morning, I'm Pastor Linda Diatley. I came here, 12 years ago as your pastor, and then 2 years ago I retired again. I'd already been retired. So I'm the retired Pastor Linda Diatley, and pleased to be with you today. It's good to see you. It's good to have a chance to be with you. I'm still recovering from my back surgery and had flu for a couple of weeks, but this is a wonderful opportunity to renew friendships and to see your friendly faces. By the way, does anybody here remember how to give a universal hug? Oh, where is Mark Carnicle when I need him? He's always remembered. Well, this is a universal hug. Let's see universal hugs for each other. Yeah, that's right. We're just going to enjoy being together and have a hug for each other. God bless you. We receive those gifts from each other all the time in one form or another. It's a form of a simple cup of cold water, isn't it? So we can greet each other, we can be with each other. It makes a big difference. I'm remembering Jesus' words. He prepares these disciples for the entire chapter of Matthew 10. He tells them about rejection and how to handle it. He tells them about acceptance and what to do in it. And he tells them, just go and tell them the kingdom of heaven has come near. So go heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those with leprosy, and chase out the demons. Oh my goodness. That seems like an awful lot for 12 guys to go out and do, even in pairs. Well, guess what? We're the disciples today, traveling that same road of life, representing Jesus. And like them, we've been given a gift. They were given the gift of knowing that they were commissioned and consecrated to go out and do all these things. As disciples, we're commissioned and consecrated to go out and do the work that Jesus has to do for us too. It's a gift that they were given. It's a gift that they enjoyed. It's a gift that they put to good use, and we will see that later if we follow the lectionary. One of the things about a gift is that we need to remember that we have responsibility in it. Margaret Mead was asked once, what is a sign of civilization? What is the single sign of civilization in any culture? And she said it was a healed femur bone. She said to heal a femur bone, and I know because I've had one broken, takes about 13 weeks. You need to actually get it back in place and hold it there, and the person can't walk on it for 13 weeks. So that person, whoever they were, had somebody that knew how to care for them and to put things back in place. Jesus has a lot to say about healing people and putting it back in place. And we hear about that all the time. And as we pray, as we reach out to other people, as we come together, as we visit. The odd thing is, though, sometimes we have strangers among us, or people we don't know that well who aren't really strangers. And I think we need to think about that. The disciples were going to meet a lot of people that were strangers, and they didn't know what kind of reception they would get. In doing so, you never do know who was going to be there. Our ushers and our welcomers do such a magnificent job in the narthex when we come in, making sure that we feel welcome and we feel loved and we're treasured and important. But we get locked in conversations in here, and when we do, we don't always notice a new person among us or somebody that we don't know. And we actually can be known to look away and keep talking to the person next to us that we see once a week and sit with. We need to pay attention to those who walk in and wave, nod. I remember years ago when Banner Hospital was taken over, it had been Sun Health, and Boswell was taken over by Banner. And it was kind of cheesy for a while, but everybody in the hospital nodded at you if they worked there, or they smiled, or they said good morning or good afternoon. And as a pastor visiting there regularly, I was kind of put off occasionally, but then it was nice to go. It was nice to be in a place where people nodded at me. They didn't necessarily have anything to offer. I didn't have anything to ask, but I was recognized. I was given personhood. I was offered compassion for being there in an environment that's often off-putting to people who visit. It's important to know we need to do likewise. And not always are we going to run into people just like us. There's a story told about a woman named Pauline. It was an inner city church, and Ray Osborne was the pastor. Ray tells the story about Pauline, that Pauline came from a women's shelter. Now, church was really important to Pauline. She escaped before the showers and the clean clothes were put on, and so she smelled really bad of urine and perspiration. She was happy to be among them and completely unaware of her own situation. And being unaware of her own situation, she just went among people. She had a voice that carried and was so annoying, but it interrupted conversations. They had a council of elders. The head of the council met Pauline, went up and shook her hand and and got to know her name, and sat in the same row, not right next to her, but in the same row. At fellowship time, Pauline would go out to fellowship and stuff her pockets full of cakes and cookies, and they learned she was a diabetic. One woman was so concerned that she made up plates of vegetables, bite-sized, and fruits, and showed them to Pauline, who wasn't at all impressed, and went back to the cakes and cookies. The leader of the elders' council said to the church, "This woman is a gift to us. God has given us this gift. It's a wake-up call. We have somebody special among us. We have somebody special to care for." They began to take it very seriously because Pauline didn't go away and she was there. And every year, she was at every service, and then also every year, she would say she wanted to sing in the service. Now, she didn't have a very good voice. I can relate to that. She didn't have a very good voice, but 2 times a year they let her sing. And she always sang the same hymn, "My Jesus, I love thee." I'm going to paraphrase because the wording of the hymn is a little archaic, but it's, "I love thee because you first loved me. If ever I love thee now." That's the second stanza. And she sung it with such fervor that everybody's heart was touched. When they saw her, she knew she wasn't there for the cakes and cookies. She was there because she loved Jesus. She was a gift. She was a priceless gift to them. And they learned to embrace her presence, if not her person. The gift that we are given is one of emptying ourselves to greet other people, emptying ourselves to meet the stranger, emptying ourselves to hear each other's stories, emptying ourselves as Jesus would do, with compassion and giving individuality, or personhood as I call it, to another person. The second gift that Jesus gives in this, because after all, the heart of Christianity is giving. We know John 3:16, God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. That's the gift we receive. That's the gift that's core to our faith. The love of God given to us as a gift that we carry forward to others. And then there's another gift, and that's the gift of service. Now, I don't know how many of you are part of a ministry team or do something in the church. Sometimes people just get included over and over again, but, we all need to have something to do. And I remember the story about a service group. He's having them go out and do these things. Remember, the heal the sick, raise the dead, cast out demons and cleaned those with leprosies, cleansed those with leprosy. Well, he's having them go out and meet strangers here and there and carry the message, the kingdom of heaven has come near, and then share stories of their experiences. You and I carry stories that we can share, but we also carry things we can do. And the Mission and Outreach team, I want you to know, they have beautiful articles that have been in the Weekly Lake here, but none of them tell you one thing that's, I think, terribly important. It's the most fun ministry team in the church. You wouldn't think so. They have a zero budget. Thanks to your generosity, it gets increased. And they do amazing things with what they have and what you bring. And they have fun doing it. You should see when we have an assembly team in Mission and Outreach, and everybody has whatever to put in. One week, because I need to sit, they gave me balloons to count. You never know what your job's going to be, and we can laugh about the whole thing and get it taken care of pretty quickly. They do the same with birthday boxes. We do the same thing at Christmas. It's an amazing experience, and I read a story about a group of people in a church that were going to send Christmas presents to a missionary family. And in doing so, they got the names and the gender and the height, the weight, whatever they needed of the individual in the family. And they made a list of all the things that people needed to contribute. And they made a checklist, and they could check off each item as it came in. Well, finally the day came when they had to pack the box and send it. And sure enough, everything had been checked off. The people in the church had brought everything they needed. And it looked wonderful. And so they were ready to put it in the box. And a woman walked in the door who hadn't been part of their team and said, "I bought my husband this wonderful all-winter coat. And he didn't like it. I'm giving it to you," and just threw it on the pile and left. And they were kind of grumbling at first. What she thinks she's doing? We didn't need this. It wasn't on our list. She didn't even ask what we were going to send. She got us this coat. We don't have anything to do with it. Well, they packed the box, and by golly, there was some room at the top of the box, and they didn't want things to shake around. And one woman said, "Let's just fold the coat up and put it on top, and maybe they'll find something to do with it." Well, the box arrived before Christmas and sat there for a while. It was getting closer every day to that holiday, that gift day where we received Jesus. And there was a knock at the door. They opened the door. There was a bedraggled elderly gentleman who was cold and hungry. They brought him in. They made sure he got a good shower. They washed his clothes for him. They sat him down. They fed him meals and kept him for a little while. And then they thought, maybe we aren't doing anything right now. It's not Christmas yet, but we should open the box. There won't be anything in it for him, but he'll be interested in what a church put together for other people. Maybe it'll plant a seed in him for what he does or what he tells people along the way as he travels. So they opened it, and by golly, there's that coat on top. Well, it didn't fit anybody in the household at all, but as they held it up and looked at the elderly gentleman, they realized it was perfect for him. So when they got a note thanking them for the gifts and the miracle gift, they understood that whatever that woman had dumped on them had been a miracle for someone else in another family, because they were able to give him the coat before he left, knowing he would be warm and cared for. You wonder, maybe, do those things happen all the time? Well, they do. Don't you hear people say, well, it just so happened? It doesn't just so happen. Or, oh, it was an accident. It was an accident. God has an economy a whole lot different than yours and mine that works a different way than ours does. And God uses what we do and even what we don't do to make things happen. I think we're really blessed in that way. We can thank Jesus for letting us know that as he sent these disciples out. It's a job that we have to do. I do know that people often put off by the idea of giving to any organization for the poor or the church. They don't know, but people are going to use that in the wrong way. They should just keep it, right? I don't know. What are you going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? But it might be a miracle gift. You never know. I don't think we have to be afraid if a group that serves poverty or a group that's a church is getting our resources, whatever they may be. They'll be used according to an economy that's different than ours. And they'll be used well to help others. I want to close by telling you 3 stories. I know for a fact that when our lives have purpose and structure, we take on doing something. Now, you may tell me that you're not doing well these days. Talk to me about it. You're not doing well these days, and it's difficult to get around, or it's difficult to do this or do that. But quite frankly, everybody can do something. Everybody can. I don't mean just 1 or 2, because we got a lot of 1 or 2s doing a whole lot. I'm telling you, everybody can do something. It may not be big. We vowed that we're going to witness to the church and how important Jesus is to us in the church, or how important our faith life is, or being with others who share our faith life. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't want to belabor the point, but we can always say that we are. We said we vowed we'd witness. I made a list, as a matter of fact, and stuck it in my Bible. We also take part in the sacraments. It's another vow we took. And we also have Bible study. You know, Sarah Lee's still doing her Bible study, the whole Bible. She's in Iowa, but she does it by Zoom now, and so anybody can join her. And she's covering the whole, and she's great. The study's going really well. We'll have more studies in the future, but for now, we have that one. We have prayer life. Juan prayed a beautiful prayer for us. We pray in our services, but we can't have somebody pray for us all the time. I mean, do the work of thinking what to say. We need to ask God what we can do. It's not for us so much. God's already taking care of us and our loved ones, but we need to reach out and see what we can do. We need to look at our prayer list in the bulletin and pray for those people. And if somebody's on hospice and you know them and they're hospice at home, don't forget to call them. They're a living person. It's a pretty long time sometimes to die. It's a long process. I called one of our members that I look up to that I'd known for a long time and found out that was what was happening to her around Christmas last year. And so I called her every couple of weeks, 2 times a week. I wanted to talk to her. I knew there weren't other people stopping by the new place she was in or visiting her, and it seemed a shame. She had been a leader in so many things here. And we had wonderful conversations, and then one day her grandson announced that she had died on Facebook. But my prayers are for you to call these people. If you know them, call them. If you don't, pray for them. We can be of service, as I was saying, and we can freely give our gifts. Sometimes those gifts are the things we do, not what's in our pocketbook or our banking account. I want to give you 3 instances of people who did something when a lot of people would have done nothing. A family, a husband and wife, I ran a program of 1,200 volunteers for a while. Program won a 12 Who Care Award, and I was humbled to receive it for them because I was they were all 60 and above, and I was in my early 40s. But I was moved by the number of things that people did, and this family, Jean and John, were from a place in Ohio where there must have been an environmental element that caused cancer, because they both got cancer, different kinds, and their daughter got cancer. Something in the water or something. Anyway, it was a tragic kind of thing. They were both wonderful Christians, and even if they hadn't been, they were wonderful people. John would go to chemo clinic. He would walk there Then he would go to the public library that was nearby where he volunteered, and he would put in his volunteer time, and then he would walk home. And he did that every time he went for chemo. So now if you think you can't do anything, try being John. He had a purpose. The purpose was, yes, you need to get the chemo, but then he was going to go help at the library where he had a role, he had purpose, and he had structured things to do. Get outside of himself and do something for other people. His wife, Jean, chemo hit her really hard, and her immune system was knocked down, so she was in an isolation ward in the hospital. But she had a volunteer job, too. She was in part of a good morning, good night program, so she would call people and be sure, check that they were getting up and check that they were there to go to bed. Every day. One day I had a phone call. People in my office said, Jean's on the phone, and I thought, gosh, I've got 1,200 volunteers. Oh, I bet it's that Jean. I certainly hope she's not worse and not able to volunteer. That's been so wonderful. But it wasn't. She's just mad. One of the people she called all this time religiously, so to speak, was cranky about the whole thing. She was 5 minutes late. Jean said, can you believe it? I said, Jean, I don't really know what to say except that I'm glad you called. I'm sorry to hear that happened. Can I do anything other than tell you that I know you and John are great Christians and you're doing wonderful things for other people? And I'm really proud and honored to know you both. We talked for a while, and she was feeling much better and went on. Eventually, Jean died, and John himself received the 12 Who Care Award from NBC. Another man's name was Frank. Frank was one of our ushers. He and his wife were in their late 80s, and they were both like medium height and slender. They were quiet people. Frank was always very caring in what he did. Not so that he was pushy about it, but he just was. He was there. He certainly served. He had a purpose, and it had structure. Now, after she died, we hadn't had the celebration of life service yet, but, well, we didn't expect anything. He'd just come out of surgery and gotten home, and she died. His wife. They've been together since they were kids. Talk about losing a partner. We felt badly for it, and we didn't expect anything, but the aisle angled upwards, and as we got to the top of the aisle, we realized that Frank stepped out where we could see him in the doorway. He was holding a tray. On that tray were 3 cups of cold water, 1 for each of the pastors. They could rinse out their mouths and take in some water to refresh them before greeting and saying goodbye to the people who attended the service. Frank didn't give that up. He had purpose and structure. Whatever happened to him, he still had something to do. There's not a person sitting here that couldn't be doing something. Maybe praying the prayer list, joining a Bible study, finding some way to help out. There's lots to do. We have a new pastor coming. I'm so excited to meet her and get to know her. I've heard wonderful things about her from Pastor Stewart, who did serve with her and said she was fantastic. And so looking forward to that. It's something that we can enjoy. And we need to remember something, though. Pastors are appointed to a church based on the church's need. Hear me again. Pastors are appointed to a church to take care of the church's need. They are not sent to do all the ministry. Far from it. They are consecrated and commissioned to preach, teach, and administer the business of the church. Now, as an appointed pastor for, I guess, about 30 years now, I can tell you there's a lot of ministry that goes on, but I can tell you, I couldn't do it all. The people in the congregation did it all. I did what I could where there was a definite need. And so did the other pastors. We did plenty. We really don't just work on Sundays. I have a friend who likes to say, "How is your work on Sunday?" The people who are the ministers in the church are sitting in your seats. We're here to support the person who's preaching and teaching and inviting us to become involved as she administers the business of the church. May that be so. God bless you each and every one.